right, sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll take a little bit of time today to talk about employee benefits and open enrollment and what open enrollment is. And we'll spend a lot of time talking about health and medical plan options. So PA has some significant changes this year, so we're going to talk through them in a fair amount of detail. And as always, I want to invite you guys to stop me at any time with questions that you have. Feel free to type them in the chat if you're more comfortable doing it that way, but don't feel like you're interrupting me if you have questions and if you'd like for me to expand on something. So very, very happy to do that. So hey Steve, thanks for jumping in.
Yes, sir.
All right, so what is open enrollment? Open enrollment is once a year when employees have the option of opting in, opting out, adding coverage, changing coverage for dependents without a qualified life event. So what is a qualified life event? Well, you can change those coverages with things like birth of a baby, getting married, getting divorced, losing spousal coverage. So there's some things where you can change these coverages throughout the year, but for the most part, you are limited to the coverages you opt in for during open enrollment. So we'll also talk about some other coverages: disability, accident, cancer, and critical illness that you can opt in or opt out for. And open enrollment is always a good time to make sure your beneficiary for any life insurance or critical illness is reflected the way you would like to see it if something were to happen to you. So as I said, we'll spend the bulk of our time talking about the medical plan. So the last few years, PA has been with United Healthcare. A couple of years beyond that, we were with Preferred One, and we were quite happy with the services of Preferred One. We had very moderate renewals. We had fantastic service. And then United Healthcare bought them, and things changed a bit, not only from a service perspective, but as you can see, the biggest reason for the changes this year is the medical plan renewal was an 18% increase, constituting a little bit more than $250,000 per year in increased costs. So a big number that's shared between the employer and the employees. To an extent, it is based on the claims of the group, but we felt that it wasn't necessarily all warranted, and so we went out and we shopped plans to Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medica. We looked at some other options with United Healthcare, and we also talked to health partners. As you can see, Blue Cross Blue Shield was the best option moving forward. Blue Cross's options were 10 to 13% lower than that 18% increase. So we do have some small increases this year, however, much more palatable than had we stayed with United Healthcare. Also adding in there that PA will also continue to contribute 70% of the premiums for both single and family coverage, regardless of which plan you choose. So a very significant contribution from the employer, not only for the employee, but for any dependents that you'll be covering. So a little bit more on the medical plan, moving to Blue Cross Blue Shield. For 2026, there will no longer be an HRA component. So in the past, you had one medical plan with an HRA component. It was sort of a opt-in or opt-out. Moving forward, you'll have two plans to choose from, neither of which will have the HRA component. So a little bit of flexibility of choice there between an HSA qualified plan with high deductible or a traditional copay plan with lower deductibles and copays for things like office visits and prescription drugs. Both plans will have Blue Cross Blue Shield's Aware Network, which is their widest network, covering 98% of all hospitals and clinics. We do always remind folks that if you have a major event coming up, you do want to verify that that provider is in network. However, with Blue Cross's Aware Network, it's not a whole lot to worry about. So just a little bit of review here on some key terms. After this slide, I'm going to talk about the two plan options. but it's important just to go over some of these terms as they apply very differently to those two plans. So deductible is the amount that you're responsible to pay for services each calendar year before your medical plan pays for those services. Out-of-pocket maximums: once you've reached your out-of-pocket max for the year, the plan will pay for 100% of all covered services the remainder of the calendar year. So an out-of-pocket maximum, many folks don't hit it all year long. Some people may hit it in the first month of the coverage year. So it varies for individual, but once you do hit that out-of-pocket maximum, you won't pay any more other than premiums for the rest of the calendar year. Coinsurance. So coinsurance is an amount between your deductible and your out-of-pocket maximum, where the plan pays a portion and the employee pays a portion. So you'll see on the next slide, one of our plans has a $2,000 deductible and a $5,500 out-of-pocket maximum. So you would pay up to your deductible, and then beyond that, the coinsurance would kick in and you would have a cost share up to the out-of-pocket max. Copays are small fees you pay each time you get care or fill a prescription. You'll see some of those examples coming up. And then from a network perspective, I already talked about, we have in-network rates and we have out-of-network rates. So anytime you got a big surgery, something like that coming up, it doesn't hurt to call the 800 number on the back of your card just to double check and make sure that you're utilizing a network provider. So now we'll talk specifically about your two plan options for 2026. These summaries of benefits and coverage, that's the blue and white in the screenshot that you see there. These documents, as well as many more documents, will be in a benefits library that's available to all staff. We're finalizing that now, trying to make sure we have all the pieces in there, and I think in the next day or so, a link will go out to all of these. But just a few highlights from these summaries. From the traditional copay plan, which will be option 1 for you guys. The deductible is $2,000 for an individual, $4,000 for a family. For in-network, out-of-network deductibles are 5 times that amount. Out-of-pocket max, $5,500 for an individual, $11,000 for a family. And then in the middle there's some preventative is mentioned. We've talked a little bit about preventative because these are things that are covered before your deductibles without copays for all medical plans. It's a federal mandate, the Affordable Care Act. So these are things that went into place a long time ago. It's just kind of a reminder that you have that annual physical, well child and prenatal care, mammograms, things like that are covered without additional charge on an annual basis for you. Second slide on option 1, the traditional copay plans. So this is where the copays come in. So for an office visit, you're going to have a $35 copay, $70 if you visit a specialist. And then you can see the copays per prescription drug tier: $20, $50, $75, $120, and up to $550 per month. $550 per month seems like an awful lot. However, more and more plans are covering individuals with specialty drugs that are in the $10,000 to $20,000 per month. So if you happen to need one of those drugs, the most you'll pay on this traditional copay plan would be $550 per month. And there's that coinsurance thing that we mentioned previously. Once you meet your $2,000 deductible, your plan will pay 70%. You would pay 30% up to the out-of-pocket maximum. So plan option 2 works considerably differently. This is a HDHB. This is a high deductible health plan. HSA, or Health Savings Account qualified. So we have a much higher deductible here. We have $4,000 individual deductible, $8,000 for a family. Our out-of-pocket maximum is pretty close to the same. It was $5,500 on the first plan, $6,000 on this plan, and $12,000 for a family here. One thing that is the same are those preventatives. So either plan choice, you have the same preventative coverage before any deductible or out-of-pocket spend. This slide's a little bit different. Copays, subject to deductible, means that you're going to pay 100% of the cost for your office visits with this plan before your plan kicks in at all. So there is no small copay. The example we like to use is your standard office visit probably costs an average of about $275. It could be as low as $150. It could be as high as $450, just depending on the provider and the diagnostics that are done there. So with this plan, you're going to pay that full amount, the $275 for that office visit. If you have prescription drugs, you're going to pay the full amount for the prescription drugs until you meet your deductible. Once you meet your deductible, the coinsurance works very much the same. The plan will pay 75%, you'll pay 25% until you hit that out-of-pocket maximum. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions about structural differences between these two plans. I do have more slides to talk about medical plans and HSAs and things of that nature, but I'm throwing a lot out there, so I just wanted to see if there were questions. No questions. So a little bit about healthcare in general and options with Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is just kind of a cost of care reference slide that talks about where you can save money, where your plan can save money if needed. And you see at the top there's a free call line. It's an 800 number on the back of your medical ID cards that'll come in the mail. It doesn't cost anything. And then the other end of the spectrum, we have emergency rooms that are very, very costly to the plan. And so should you need that care, absolutely get to the emergency room. If you have a cold, you might be better off waiting and going to urgent care or a standard visit during regular office hours to save some dollars there. Worth noting, regardless of the plan you choose, you'll have 5 free online visits before any deductible or copay. So really a nice feature there. When I was talking about the high deductible plan and you being responsible for 100%, keep in mind that there's 5 free online visits, and that's applicable to either plan. Just like United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield has an unbelievable amount of value adds, as they would call them, bolt-on coverages. All of the things here come with no additional cost. So we see the online care and the call line options. There's behavioral health. There's a tremendous amount of wellness discounts and rewards, nutrition recipes, things of that nature. You have the ability to hook up your Fitbit or Apple Watch so those wellness goals can be tracked and monitored. Different chronic disease management and pain management, maternity support, tobacco cessation. There's just an unbelievable amount of options that come, and this page here, the screenshot, will be part of an employee guide that goes in that benefits library. This is even just a small list, so if any of these things are needed or you have interest, I'm happy to help you dial into them. There's just so many that we don't go into great deal on them, but hopefully some of you have used it. One other nice feature is once you log in and build an account, there are deductible accumulators, out-of-pocket maximum accumulators, so you can kind of see where you're at through the year as well. There's some really nice tools there to assist. So with the medical plan options, what do they cost you guys? I mentioned that the 70-30 cost share stays in there. On the left side, the 2025 employee premiums. And on the right side, we see what the premiums will look like for 2026. both with the traditional copay plan and the HSA plan. So about a $10 per pay period difference for the HSA plan, about a $30 per difference for the traditional copay plan. So why would you want to sign up for the HSA plan when you know the deductibles are higher? I'm going to talk about HSAs in the next few slides, but you can see that the premiums are a little lower. This is the big component of that. We really believe that HSAs are one of the best things that the IRS has given us, maybe the only good thing the IRS has ever given us. And some say an HSA has a triple tax advantage. So we know that pre-taxing payroll deductions into an HSA lowers your taxable income. You're not paying income tax on the dollars that are going in there, and you're also lowering your taxable income, which can have you in a lower tax bracket at the end of the year. Balances in your HSA grow tax-free interest, and you're able to pay for qualified expenses free of taxes with HSA dollars. So in order to be eligible for the HSA, you must be enrolled in a high deductible health plan. So we have one high deductible health plan that's HSA qualified, and we have one that's not. More on HSAs. They are portable, so the health savings account is owned by you, not by your employer. It's a savings account just like any other savings or checking account you may have at the bank. It is not a use it or lose it fund. If you have balances in your HSA, they roll over from year to year indefinitely. They can be a retirement savings vehicle. Once you turn 65, they can be withdrawn. They can be invested in an IRA. They can be used for Medicare supplement premiums. So very, very flexible in that regard. They're convenient. We all probably have a check card or credit card in our wallet. Your HSA will be distributed to you a card much the same. And your HSA deductions can be updated or changed throughout the year. So you have the flexibility of increasing an HSA deduction. If you get some medical claims, you always want to make sure that you're paying them with your pre-taxed HSA dollars. There are limits to how much can be contributed to an HSA. These are also part of the federal guidelines. $4,400 for an individual, $8,750 for a family, and individuals that are 55 and older can contribute an additional $1,000 per year. So as you see, if you select the high deductible health plan, your employer will contribute $100 per month into your HSA account. So that $1,200 per year contribution does count against the $4,400 annual maximum. However, very, very nice contribution there to help with a few appointments, some prescription drugs, things of that nature. So I'm going to pause again to see if there's any questions on health savings accounts. I did have a question last week. Someone said, well, aren't there rules about how this affects Medicare? And there are. Once you are on Medicare, you can no longer contribute to a health savings account. And 6 months prior to enrolling in Medicare, you have to stop contributing to the HSA account. You still have the account. Any balances that are there are still yours and you can continue to use. You just can no longer contribute. Any HSA questions? You guys are awfully quiet. So flex spending, you guys have offered flex spending in the past. We will continue to offer flex spending. There will be a carrier change. Some of you that had flex in the past will know that we've had some administrative challenges with United Healthcare, and so the decision was made to move to a new, smaller Minnesota-based administrator, and we hope that we'll have a few less issues there. So anytime you contributed to Flex in the past and you want to continue that, you must opt in or re-enroll at open enrollment for Flex Care. There are new annual maximums for Flex this year, $3,400 for medical, and a significant increase for dependent care. So it was $5,000 annual max the last few years, and it has been increased to $7,500 for 2026. Like HSAs, FSAs are pre-tax payroll deductions. And can you carry this over? A little bit. You can carry over up to $680 for 2026. So where an HSA, you don't have to worry about that, use it or lose it. With an FSA, you need to plan accordingly. So do you need an FSA if you have an HSA? And I would say that depends. You would want an FSA for dependent care if you have child care needs or if you have adult care needs. You could certainly use that. If you enroll in the traditional copay medical plan, you may want to flex some medical dollars there. And you can also use it for some dental and vision care as well. So there are instances where you may want a flex. However, I would say some of you that opt for the higher deductible health plan that have done flex spending in the past would find the HSA to be much more convenient and user-friendly moving forward. So getting into some of the other benefits, overall there are not much for changes in the rest of the benefit package. So from the dental perspective, continuing with Mutual of Omaha, those of you that work 20 plus hours are getting your individual dental care free of charge. Those of you that are choosing to cover dependents, your employer's picking up 70%, you have a 30% cost share. From an overall premium perspective, there was a small increase of 3%. It shouldn't change anybody's payroll deduction much more than $1, so real minimal there. And then structurally the plan is the same. You have a $1,500 calendar year maximum and a $50 individual deductible. Any questions, any concerns with the dental plan from the past year? A couple benefits that your employer sponsors for those of you working 40 hours, $35,000 life insurance, $5,000 on a spouse and $2,000 per child. And there's also a long-term disability policy, $4,000 monthly benefit maximum. Neither of these benefits cost the employees anything. It's just kind of a reminder that they're there. It's a reminder to verify who your beneficiary is for these coverages. And then there's other voluntary benefit options for employees working 20 plus hours per week. Last year, all of these, or many of these options were transferred from Aflac over to Mutual of Omaha. We realized a little bit of premium savings there. These policies are short-term disability, accident, critical illness with cancer, hospital indemnity, and voluntary life. So outside of the life insurance, all of these plans can be added during open enrollment without EOI, and that is evidence of insurability. If you're enrolled in the life insurance currently, you can add up to $10,000 if you'd like without EOI. If you're not enrolled in the life insurance currently, there will be some medical questions. It's a pretty brief series of questions for them to verify that you don't have any major medical changes in order to get your policy written. And that top bullet point, those of you that are enrolled in short-term disability will see a rate reduction for 2026. So it'll be kind of nice to see a rate reduction there. However, the root cause of that rate reduction is PFML, or Paid Family Medical Leave, which is a newly mandated leave policy that all employers in the state of Minnesota must enroll in. So you guys will see much more on this. I assume the first of the year you'll start seeing a payroll deduction or a tax, as some are calling it, for PFML. So rate reduction for short-term disability, however, a new mandated leave policy by the state that you'll see beginning January 1st. Any questions on any of these benefits? So what do employees need to do? Well, we're going to handle open enrollment much like it was done last year. We'll have a QR code that's distributed where you can schedule an appointment to visit with an enroller. That open enrollment window begins December 21st and goes through December 2nd. If you have questions for myself, and Amy can also answer a lot of these questions ahead of open enrollment. We understand that with the medical plan changing and you have options, many of you may want to reach out and talk before that. The benefit counselors will have all of the information as well. They should be able to help with those questions. However, if there's more information you'd like and you're not finding what you need in the benefit library documents, I'm happy to visit with you via phone, Teams meeting like this, email, just to help get your questions answered. So very similar process to last year, just a little bit more important decision-making process with the medical plan choices.
Just a reminder that all employees, regardless of their hours, are eligible for our 401k plan, as long as you're 21 years or older and have completed 1 year of service at PA. Auto enrollment will take place 1 year after hire or a year after you turn, or the month after you turn 21. Information about your enrollment will be sent about a month prior to your start date, and that'll give you all the information on how to log into your account and waive your enrollment or change your enrollment. If you have been at PA for a while and are not enrolled in our 401k plan, it's a very easy process to get enrolled. Just email me, call me, and I will get you that information. And all employees are covered by our traveler's insurance, which is identity fraud insurance. Okay, Jerome. These are the services that they offer: reimbursement, resolution, fraud, and risk. I will be sending out a flyer regarding this with all the information and a card that is kind of like an ID that you can just keep in your wallet for in case something happens regarding your identity being stolen. Okay.
And so that's sort of the slides we had prepared to share with you guys. I'm willing to hang around for any questions anyone has, any clarifications. Feel free to ask. You're certainly free to log out if you don't have any questions for us, but I'll be hanging around. And so I did turn my camera on so you guys could put a face to a voice. I'm a little bit camera shy, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure you guys are familiar with who we are to be able to assist. Any questions?
Very quiet.
Very quiet. All right, you guys, I am going to log off unless there's questions. We have something here, let's see. Get some chat.
Did you have a question, Tanya?
Feel free to type in any questions too.
Oh, I see. Well, feel free to email if you do have any questions. We'll get you to the right spot. All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks so much, you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Yes, Lorraine, I did. I'll be sending it out this afternoon.